Shalom, shalom, everyone. I'm hoping that you're hearing my voice. It is a terrible internet connection today. It was actually out all day yesterday, so I am not on camera. Please let me know if you are hearing me. That would be wonderful so that I know that you can hear me. Okay, thank you, David. I appreciate it. I was hoping that I could share some things with you today, but um, I am. I'll just have to share it from my heart. So let's see if I can figure out something with a graphic background. Maybe something that's a little bit nicer to look at. We'll see what. No, that's not going to work. Give me a second here. I'm sure you guys don't really matter. It doesn't probably matter to you whether you see my face or not. It's just a little interesting to not have the interaction, that's all. So, trying to see if we have the computer only. No, it looks like a funny picture there. That's all right. We'll make do. I wanted to meet with all of you today because of the significance of the date. I had some things planned that I wanted to share, but I'm going to start out by being transparent with you guys in some issues that arose specifically yesterday. We have a group that we meet with every week. We call it our Crestone group because it's really keeping those relationships closely knit together after meeting in the physical presence with one another, and it's kind of like a prophetic sharing life coaching session where we can share what's going on, but also a very safe and vulnerable, transparent place for us to express things that are going on in our lives. And I'm very appreciative of having that opportunity with some amazing folks, and then I get to come and share with. So in processing shadow work, which I can't emphasize enough the importance of it. Something was revealed to me and I had a pretty big struggle with it, pretty big resistance to it. And I think I've known it for a while, but just haven't really acknowledged it. You could say I've been resisting it. And what I realized was that as beautiful as the sacred languages are, because they're so revealing, they actually reveal to the point where the shadow can't hide, especially the longer that you're in them. And I'm grateful for that. I'm actually really grateful for that. So I guess what I'm stalling here trying to say is that I realized that in the process of my sharing with all of my beloved family, whether it's on Patreon or here with you guys on YouTube or Facebook or even with the Crestone group, it matters not where I share. I'd actually been using the sacred languages as a way to protect me. Now, I know that sounds a little strange, but not really. If I bring a new concept about something that is challenging narratives or doctrines, things of those natures, if I bring something that's new to you and I can show you through the letters, then it makes it a lot more difficult for you to challenge me. This is really hard for me to talk about. See, I actually took the languages and I kind of bound myself up in them a little bit because I realized that as I was taking down walls that needed to come down, at the same time, I was erecting a new wall and didn't even realize that I had done that until more of the shadow was being revealed. And so what I saw was that, like I said, if I'm sharing something with you and I'm coming from the place where I'm interpreting a verse and it's my heart that's being shared or how I see my mirror, in order to protect myself from being in that place of full vulnerability and transparency, I would show you through the movement of letters so that you really didn't have a way to come back and say this or that or something that could hurt my heart, because words are very, very much connected to my heart and very much how I see the world. And so it was a hard place to be. It was a really hard place to be, to recognize this, that I had actually bound myself up and I had entrapped myself within the sacred languages. And I'm not saying that that's going to happen to anyone who does it. I'm just saying that that's what I did with it. And in seeing this spiral vortex from the inside out and the outside in, I somehow was able to see what I had done to myself. And then I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't know what to do with it at all, because it felt like the rug was pulled out from underneath my feet and I was landing on my butt looking up going, what the heck do I do now? And I had seriously considered just letting it go entirely. Well, I think in that moment I did let it go entirely, because the last thing I want to do is bind myself up after I've worked so hard to set myself free. It's interesting, isn't it? But this morning, my eyes out yesterday and was pretty transparent with our group meeting that we had yesterday. I woke up and was processing it, and I came to a completely different a completely different reality, and it was so amazing. It was like I had to let go in order to receive something else that I thought was even more beautiful. Is I realized that instead of protecting myself, which I had been doing, now it has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with the position of encouraging. So there's no walls that need to protect my heart. There's no reason for me to feel like I have to go into the deep intricacies of the words to try to shore up my heart, because although there's amazing champagne moments, it matters not to me any longer of how it's received, because as I share, it's all a matter of encouraging. Well, not only am I encouraging myself, technically, that happens, the heart to encourage, nut of what I'm. Um, but this was a much needed revelation in order for me. Hopefully, at reset, is a much needed revelation that I needed to look at in going into those dark shadow places of fear of rejection and abandonment, in order for me to continue sharing with all of you, because I'll be one of the first ones that'll come out in that transparent place and say, since we're in that time of the revealing, if the shadow needs to be revealed, I'm no longer going to hide behind it. It's going to be revealed. And in hopes that it helps free more than just me from potentially the same shadow. We all have to do the work. We can't get out of it. But I know that some of us are doing the work on a grander scale for those who may still be in the place of ignorance and don't even know what the shadow work is. That we're, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. There is still in some places of ignorance that people don't even have a clue as to what shadow work is, or that they even have a shadow, or what subconscious, unconscious levels of programming that we operate in, and kind of an automatic way that we live out our life. But some of us are aware and some of us are doing the work. And, there's unsung heroes that are doing a lot behind the scenes that will never have a face and will never have a name. And they don't really care whether they do. They just their sleeves and they do it. And you guys are still hearing me. Hopefully you guys are still hearing me. Crappy connection. I apologize. We'll just give it a second here. Keep talking. It'll be what it is. So, for all of you who are doing your shadow work, thank you. Namaste. Thank you for the work that you are doing. Thank you for how you are helping the collective. Thank you for being an unsung hero that isn't out in front, but you're doing an incredible work that is necessary. I know it's cutting in and out. Can't help it today. It's the only thing I can do. Probably have to take this down once I get done, but if you guys are hearing the bulk of it right now, it looks like it's good, but it has been going in and out. I did want to talk to you about the now moment, and I wanted to talk to you about um, some Hebrew words specifically that have to do with the gematria of 1111. This is, in many circles, has been called the awakening code. And, it's quite significant that it's 1111 and we're at 222. For those of you who've been hanging around with us for a while, you know that the 2000 or the 222 is a quite significant number for us. And I don't need to go into detail with that today, but it's the beginning of our inception of our YouTube channel, trying to connect with you today. Like I said, I had some other things that I wanted to share. I actually had things on the board, and I actually had some stuff that I wanted to do in breaking down a verse with you. But I'll share with you a little bit about that in a moment. I'm just going to talk from my heart right now. I mean, I guess that was the whole thing about what my shadow work was yesterday. So I'm speaking from my heart today instead of hiding behind the words. I'm sharing my heart. But I will speak of some words. So there's a word out there it's literally, if you say it, it's ha. Imagine that. It's kind of like the aha when we have a aha moment, but it's instead of having an aleph hey aleph sound, which is the contracted form for love. I'm giving it because crappy connection again. It looks like we're picking back up. Both of these letters, one is a contraction and one is an expansion. So in the contracted state, it's like energy and sources are being drawn in so something else can be birthed new. And I see that we're in that moment right now. We're in that ha moment where it's an explosiveness in nature. And in its meaning, in its simple meaning, it just means oh. Like oh. Or it comes from a root that means lo and behold. So we're here in this oh moment. And it reminds us that in this moment that we can't forget to breathe. The importance of breath is that which connects us to spirit and that which connects to life. And so no matter what is going on, no matter what shadows we're facing, no matter what the dark night of the world is going through right now, Hopefully I'm back. I hope I'm back. This is very interesting. Okay. Thank you. No matter what the dark night is going through, we just have to remember the breath is important. Whenever we stop the breath, when we stop we stop the flow of spirit going through us. So no matter what, as we stay as the observer and we watch things in our outside world, we just need to remember to breathe and know that it's all going to be okay. It's all going to be okay. I know there was a long silence. I'm having trouble with internet connection. That's why I'm not on camera. So the gematria of the word that I just shared with you is 11. And that's very significant for today. The hay has a total gematria of 5, and there's 2 of those. And the aleph is 1, and it's right in the center. So what it reminds us of is in those moments when we don't want to breathe, that it's reminding us to look inwardly, and it's reminding us to connect to the unity within, connect to that which is within, the divine spark of who we are, of that place of the inner being that is connected to source as source that is in and through all things, knowing that everything is as it should be. The world is such because we are such. And as we transmute our shadows and we turn all of those shadows, we shall no longer have fear. We won't see the effects of war because we will have stopped warring with our shadow within. We will stop pushing those things away and we will learn to embrace. Because if we can't learn to embrace ourselves, we will never be able to learn to embrace another. If we can't learn to trust ourselves, how can we ever trust another? And we will continue to separate ourselves from those things that are of the unknown, those scary places, the things that we don't understand. And yes, the spirit, the shadow is our spirit because there's a light and a dark. There's 2 frequencies that are being generated, light and dark. But really, they're the 2 terminals on a battery. And in order for flow to be created, both of those terminals have to be connected. One is a feminine energy and one is masculine. And unfortunately, we've inverted both. So in reality, we first have to turn our light to be something that isn't higher than thou, not a religious light, but the true light that is all encompassing, all embracing, full of love, in order to then with the inverted dark shadow, which really does need love. You think about all the things that we've pushed away, all of the things that we've not wanted to look at. And I'll tell you what, when you have to embrace some of those things, it's not ugly, it's not fun. Or I mean it is ugly. It's not fun. It's not fun to walk through. But I guess I said that through a good Freudian slip that it isn't ugly. We've labeled it as such, but really it's a necessary process to learn and love it back home. So lo and behold, the process that we're going through is going to come into complete unity. And in saying that, I have no doubt that that is what we are doing currently. Let me talk about the now moment. In Aramaic, there's 2 words that describe now. And I hope this helps with our process of the Great Awakening and the Great Work we all must do. Whether you choose to do it in this lifetime or another is completely up to you, but the now moment is a great time to start. So the 2 words for now is Deen and Hasha. And I've been heard to say it's a Hashadeen moment. You could say it's a Hashadeen Bayom. Well, what is that? Well, Hasha and Deen are both now, and Bayom is a word that means day, but it really doesn't accurately portray what that means, because in the day, we look at it as in the day is when the sun is out, but in another way of looking at it, the day is your now moment. It's what you're experiencing in the moment. It's not tomorrow, it's not yesterday, it's your now moment, your present moment, the moment we are living in right now. And when it becomes Bayom, it means the moment that you're living now within. Because that which you is actually building that which is without you. So in the day means what kind of vision are you producing and connecting to? Is it something that's bringing mighty deliverance, or is it something that's bringing chaos? What are you doing with the power that's been given to you? And are you connecting to it? Are you connecting that place of you that is beyond with that which is with you right now? Are you disconnected from your etheric power? Because we're all spirit beings in a physical incarnation having a physical experience. And many times we take a look at it and we're a physical being having a spiritual experience, but no, it's the other way around. So in the day, the Bayom, what are we doing? What are we building? What does that look like? Because really, it's all going and doing the work that's on the inside. Everything is on the inside, and then it projects out as your mirror, you can see it. So in our now moment, really, if I'm looking at it and I'm trying to find a way for me personally to reorient myself or take a look and see what needs to be dealt with in the moment, because that's all I have is right now. My now moment is either a Dean moment or it's a Hasha moment. Now, Dean is interesting because not only does it mean now, but it's also a word that means city, C-I-T-Y, like busyness. I want you to connect to that because, I was sitting on that for a while going, why in the world does this word mean now? And then it's also connected to a city. But cities are full of busyness all the time. They never sleep. They never sleep. Something's always going on. It's always busy, busy, busy. And those of you who live in a city or have lived in a city, you know what I'm saying. Or even those of you who have visited a city, go to Las Vegas and see when that town sleeps. Or New York and see where that sleeps. It doesn't. So when you're in a Dean moment, it's when we're in that place of busyness. It's interesting because it's a Dalit Yod Noon, and that Dalit is always letting us know that there's a place within that we're separated from. There's something that we've actually separated from that is keeping us ill, weak, and feeble. But it's also the same letter that says we have to deliver ourselves from that aspect because something needs to be connected to. And so it's really explaining it to us in this fashion that when we get in that place of busyness, if we're in a now moment and we're so busy, it's easy for us to get into the judging aspect because it's also a word that means to judge. Isn't that interesting? City, now, and judge. It's really easy to slip into that place of judgment. It's very easy to slip into that. And we will busy and busy and busy ourselves all day long, judging externally, judging everything in this busy, wide world, and not take the time to slow down to see that really on that inside of that word, it's a little yod. It means there's a vision, there's something in there, a spark of creation that is waiting for somebody to do something with it. It's like the work and the deed of the hand that needs to be done. And then the noon has to do with the seed that has been planted, the seed that's been planted within the earth. For those of you who were hanging out with me on Wednesday, I went over the Sophite letters, the fallen letters, and you know exactly what I'm talking about there. But for those of you who don't, let's talk about a seed that's planted in the earth. Adam. Aleph, Dalet, Mem, Adam. The word for ground is ha-adamah. Has the word Adam right in the middle of it, and it has two hays, so it means there's a revelation on the front and the back side of that word, and it means ground. How interesting is it that Adam is in the center of ground, and in the narrative it was told through a story that Adam was formed from the dust of the earth. So what are you saying, Carrie? What I'm saying is that seeds are planted within the earth, which is just a metaphor for saying within us. And when those seeds get planted, dependent upon where our inside is going to determine that which we see. And that which we see on the outside is going to be fully dependent on that which is within, that which is in the dark. Because where do seeds germinate? In the ground. So in that Dean moment, we're given an opportunity to go within, to see this beautiful spark of creation, something that is looking to have something done. It's like, okay, there's something that's being separated, it needs to be connected to. It's causing me, because I am disconnected, it's causing me from rising up in my power. And I'm actually planting the seed within me, which means I have the ability to root it out and pull it up if I don't want it. So the fullness of the word judge is dina, even though judge is found within the word for city and busyness and now. But when we fully judge, it becomes dina, because then what did we do? Well, in the process of taking a look of that which grew and manifested plain as day based upon that which we were seeding in the dark, when we take a look at it and we embrace it, we stop shaming, guilting, hiding, avoiding it, resisting it, and we fully embrace it, it then has the ability to change form. And we become one with it. And then guess what? We have our power back. We now have transformed all of that dark into that which is of Oreta, the one light, that of creation. And then it becomes manifested as the beautiful Shekinah glory, the divine feminine presence, which is the action of doing. It's the movement, it's the flow. And we get to do that. So when we're in a judging moment, when we're in that Dean moment, it gives us pause to go, oh, something's being revealed to me. And whatever's being revealed to you, you're going to become one with it on the inside, because you are it. You are one with your creation. It's up to us to decide what we want to create and what's going to manifest. So now let's talk about the Hasha moment. This is the other side. I love this word. Hasha. Hasha. For those of you who know the letters, I'm speaking of a word that is spelled He, Shin, Aleph. So we hear the spirit breath again. We have that He and the Aleph, and then we have the Shin in the middle, which is known as the fire of God. And the fire of God, if we want to be more technical and science side of it, we would call it electromagnetism. And if we want to drill down a little bit more on that, we would say heart-brain coherence. And if we want to say that just a little bit different, we would say the Christed Magdalene, or the mind of Christ and the heart of Magdalene. So in our Hasha moments, we are actually living in the now presence where we are breathing. And it's balanced because there's a He and an Aleph, not two He's in one Aleph. That's out of balance. It's an exhale and an inhale that is then connecting us to electromagnetism, heart-brain coherence, where we're in the moment and we're full of magic and we're full of wonder. Because electromagnetism is that which we utilize within the quantum realm to create. That He, it comes first, and it's revelation. It's something that is coming in, a vision, something that we're beholding, but it hasn't manifested yet. And when it goes through the electromagnetism, it's when the heart and the brain, through the vision and the emotional feeling of gratitude and love, join together to produce that effect. within the quantum realm. Actually, draw it into our sphere. So when we meditate, when we quiet our mind, when it's not busy, when we're sitting in that place of beautiful silence and we're sitting within ourself, we can begin to create, behold images that are within our mind of beautiful spaces, beautiful places, beautiful faces, and bring our creator energy to it so that it manifests. I'm going to type in the chat room, Hasha. Hasha and Dean, so that you know the two words. And then you can look at Hashadin. When we put the two words together, a Hashadin moment, what does that mean? Well, it means that we take our moments of judging and we turn them into a moment of creation. And really, that explains shadow work. Because in the moments when we judge, we have to stop. We stop in that moment and we're recognizing that place of separation. But then we can quickly take it in that as we recognize it, it's a revelation. Behold, it's a revelation. Behold, I'm seeing something that could potentially be planted in the earth that will pop up later, something that I'm going to have to look at. Because again, you can't walk away from these things. They're always going to stay there. They're seeded in. They're part of the ground. This is why we're having to walk through the dark side, the dark night of the collective world soul, because every time we stuff something and we plant it, we're planting another seed into the ground, into the ha'adamah. So we're really the ones that are responsible for it. I'm laughing, I'm chuckling at it. It's not really a laughing matter. But sometimes when you have the revelation of these things, sometimes it seems just so absurd. It's like, oh my gosh, wow. And then once you figure out how to work and navigate it, then you can turn all of those Dean moments into a Hasha moment and let magic change everything. We've been given an incredible opportunity in this moment in time, in this great awakening. This is 1111. Incredible opportunity. And speaking to you, let it be a Hashadin moment for you. Take everything that comes within your sphere, everything that you want to judge, everything. And I don't care what it is. Because if it's externally judging, you're judging something that is within you. And if you're judging something within you, it needs to be transmuted. So usually you have to see it on the outside to recognize it on the inside so you can do something about it. And it's all hard work. And it all takes time. It's not something that we're going to do immediately. It's something that's been done, is being done, and will continue to be done until in the shadows turning, there will only be light. There will be no more shadow. It'll be the one light because there's always been one light. But for the sake of our experience, it was divided into two. Some of you know in the first chapter of Genesis that the Elohim were divided into the night and to the light and the dark. But you'd have to dig deeper because it seems confusing and it doesn't seem quite that way. It's like the Elohim created the dark and, the light, but really when you dig down, it says that they were created as dark and light. And unfortunately, when we get in that judging place, we'll say, okay, well, there's the dark Elohim and there's the light Elohim. Well, no, let's drill down a little deeper. There's only one Eloah, and there's many fractals of Eloah, hence why it's plural, but there's only one Eloah. So one Eloah got split into a dark and a light energy. All things are God, all things are good. We just choose to judge it. And so since we're fractals of Eloah, in a holographic way, I mean, we're just smaller pieces of the same thing with the same coding, we're both light and dark. And because we're both of those things, what we need to do is unify them back into the one thing, Oreta, the one light. And this is where the two energies can come together and become one. That should connect to even some narratives you read in the Bible about when the two come together in the course of marriage, the two shall become one. And when they become one, they can no longer be divided again. And again, I'm talking about spiritual things, but I'm very much talking about our inward journey, because once we unite those energies together and they become one, it's a fusion takes place and we become atomic in nature. It's beautiful. That's how we connect to our light. That's how we connect to the one light. And we've been so conditioned to stay away from the dark, to stay away from the things that were called evil, to stay away from the things that were not weren't up to the church standards or things that we didn't understand, something that was different from what we were culturally indoctrinated to accept. But we're getting into this place through our Hashadin moments, taking one moment at a time and transmuting our own shadow, that as we turn, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, which is separation, I shall not fear. I shall not fear. What does that mean, Carrie? What that means is that we are going to be in that place where we celebrate diversity. We will no longer be afraid of it. We will no longer be afraid of any shadow because we loved our shadow back to life. Because we were in death, separated. So when you hear Ken and I talk about death, we're talking about like the death of separation. You have to walk through the death of separation in order to flip it back around in order for it to be unified. And when that happens, then there's no longer fear because fear is associated with death and separation. So then we have unification and we celebrate diversity instead of being afraid of it. That's where we get tripped up. I'm feeling this very strongly as I'm sharing today, and I find it quite liberating that I don't even have any words on a page. I don't have any words on a whiteboard, but I am the word. We all are, and we can speak for that place of the heart. So I want to encourage you in that Hashadin moment, in that Hashadin time, to extend yourself much love and grace and know that there's a purpose for it. Because when we get into the Dinah stage, when we actually are planting a new seed, one that's not fallen in nature, but one that is fulfilling its purpose of bringing unity, all things are made new. And I find it beautiful too that when it becomes Dinah, that noon olive combination on the end, instead of it being a Sophite, instead of a fallen letter, there's actually a prayer that's in it. And this is so beautiful because we connect to that electromagnetism that is within us, that quantum realm, that beautiful place of creation where the Magdalene heart and the mind of Christ unify in that sacred chamber. And there's this prayer that goes forward of, we beseech thee, plant a seed that will germinate and grow into the place where we all can unify as one. We beseech thee that this place of unity would see the fulfillment of all separation to come to an end. We beseech thee that we allow the divine feminine energy frequency to penetrate all things, to draw all things back to the place of source, to the place of origin, to the place of the gold standard measure, to the place where it all began. We beseech thee that you take all of your shadow and all of your experiences and bring them back home. Because it is through that prayer, it is through that electromagnetism in creation that we are then able to make something new. Not renewed, something new. I don't know about you, but that thrills me because I'm a pioneer and an explorer at heart. That's why I'm here. So we get to do this together. And like I said, I had to let go of that protective measure that I was using the sacred languages for in order for me to come back around on the other side and use it to encourage me by encouraging you. 2 more points and then I'll stop. We've already been going long. believe it's already at 44 minutes, but I've been known to go long. I want to talk about building a star. It's a beautiful word, kochab. And the reason why I'm bringing it up is because today, with it being 11:11, if I were to write that out separately, the Hebrew and Aramaic letter for 11 is the kaf. I mean, it's technically the 11th letter, technically. And really, in gematria, it wouldn't be 11. It would actually be 20, which would be 2. I'm going somewhere with this because it is connected to the 222. I wish I could show you, but I have no way of showing you, so I just got to talk to you about it. I just have to share with you. For those of you who know the letters, it's a kaf, vav, kaf, bet. And if Drew was here, he could type it in for me, but I don't see him on here. He usually helps out on a live stream, but it's a kaf, vav, kaf, bet. So we have 2 kafs and we have a bet. And so we got 2 and a 2, because if you do by the toroidal math and you odd out the 0, you have 2 and 2. And then bet is the second letter of the Hebrew and Aramaic language, which the gematria is 2. So technically, that is a 222. How appropriate for today. But then we have that beautiful vav that's sitting in the middle of that word. And I love the vav because it's a letter that means to connect. Oh, how funny. There's 22 in chat. Very appropriate. I love the synchronicities. They're not coincidences. They're God winks, where we're winking back at ourselves that we're on the right track. So kaf, vav, kaf, bet. And really, I want you to have the imagery in your mind that you've got both of your hands. You have your right hand and your left hand out, and you're grasping something. You're holding on tight. What are you holding on to? You're holding on to power. This has nothing to do with force. This has everything to do with power. And where is this power coming from? It's coming from the center of your being. That's why the vav is there. It's a transmutable sign. It's beautiful. It's brilliant. It's a letter that tells us the importance of connecting our ethereal self and material side, or you could say, connecting your higher self to your lower self, because it is connected to the number 6. It's the 6th letter in the sequence of the Hebrew and Aramaic languages. It's also connected to the linear line of Genesis of the 6th day when man was created. Because remember, the way it suggests is that the 7th day it was rest, because the 6th day was the highest of all creation. Adam was created out of the Ha-Adamah. So we need to remember that although there's stories and narratives out there that the genetics of Adam were diminished, it was still the glory of creation. So much so that the next day was all rest, because all of creation, the most important thing that was created was man. Thank you, Mark. And man was created with a material side in the flesh and an ethereal side. But unfortunately, in a fall of consciousness, we became so densified we forgot that we were connected to our ethereal heavenly side. So in building a star, what I'm asking you to do is grasp a hold of the power of your right and your left hands. Connect within. Connect the twin energies of mother and father, of masculine and feminine. Take the Christ light of your higher self and shine it into the darkness that is within your lower self, and see the beautiful creation that you are. We've been told to believe something different than that. But I am here to share with you that all of you right now are beautiful just the way you are. I love your dark. I love your light. And I love you more because of your dark, because of the things that you've had to walk through, the things that you've had to embrace, the things that you've had to suffer, the things that you've had to endure. Because the greater the dark, the greater the light. And when the two of them unite, how brilliantly you shine. We all shine. This is the making of the star. Both hands must grasp. Both hands. Kochab, the last letter is bet, and it means to build from the inside out. It's a letter that's connected to family, and it's a letter that's connected as an idiomatic expression of building the temple. We are the temple, and we are to be filled with the glory of the Shekinah, the divine feminine energy, and the only way we can do is to grasp it with both of our hands. Grasp the mother, grasp the father, connect on the inside, connect to your heart, build your temple, build it through love, build it through those energies, and shine brightly. We are stardust, we are the stars, and we do shine brightly. Last thing I want to share, I hope that was encouraging to you. I know that sometimes, I'm talking about building a star, and maybe some of you go, oh, she's going to be going into metaphysical. Well, trust me, all of this is metaphysical stuff. Meta, that which is beyond. Becoming and through metamorphic change. Going beyond. We are amazing. I wanted to let you know, I don't know if my friend Sero is still on here or not. He's our beautiful, wonderful Melchizedek friend from Romania, whom I dearly love. He'd asked me a while ago to go through the Ascension Psalms, specifically 127 and 128, and I'm going to do that. But I wanted to share with you that I'm going to start doing this next week. I'm going to start going through the Ascension Psalms, and we're going to talk about it. But I will share with you today the word ascension. And I can't share it with you on the screen, so I'll just share it with you from my heart. Hama'alot. Hamala. Hamala. Forget it. I'm not even going to try to say it today. So I'm just going to share it with you what it means. It's a very interesting word because when you look at it on paper, you can actually see the word death in it. And then right in the middle of it is a contracted form of a word that means to ascend. And because it's in the middle of the word, it's actually sharing with us that we're ascending out of death. Oh, that's so good. That we're ascending out of separation. We're ascending out of that which causes us to die. Because when we're in that entropic spin, everything that is within our heart, if we don't transmute these shadows, it keeps us in that spin, in entropy, death and decay, because it's not life-giving. So when you take a look at the words and you actually pull up like Psalm, if you want to take a look at it, you can, Psalm 120 yourself, you'll see that it's called the Songs of Ascent. So you'll be able to see it. These songs of ascension. It's ascending out of death. It's ascending out of separation so that we can begin to see with authority from our heart, from the inside out. We can then come up out of the chaos and we can enter into the place where we've connected to the shadow, which is the divine feminine energy, and we complete the covenant of fire. Barashit, for those of you who have listened to my teaching on the first word in Genesis, the covenant of fire, where we unite ourselves within, and that Shekinah glory, and everything is lit up. We become a seraphim. We become messengers of the burning fire of the etheric realm, that electromagnetic energy of Creator. That's what the Ascension Psalms are about. And it's beautiful. And I know Sarah wanted me to start, he had suggested we start at 127, and I totally get why. Because that's smack dab in the middle. There's 15 of them. And it's been told that these Ascension Psalms, that the reason why that there are 15 is because that there were 15 steps in the temple. And it was the day of the ascension process that it was correlating with the temple. And I get that. And I'm going to say it's an and. I'm not going to say it's the only, and I'm not going to say that it isn't. I don't have the picture of the temple in my mind right now, so I can't verify that. But what I can share with you is that the number 15 is the gematria for the word in Hebrew, Yah. Now, some of you might know that. I think you see that in Psalm, is it 87? Trying to think off the top of my head. Yah is a shortened form of Yod He Vav He, and it's translated usually as God. It's Yod and the He, 5 in gematria through the letters, which makes 15. I see this from what Spirit's sharing with me, is that the songs of ascents or the Ascension Psalms, well, let me back up a little bit here. 1 plus 5 equals 6. There we go back to the Vav. And there we go back to man. So we have the number for man and we have God in the same 2 letters. Man who is God. And for some of you that might not sit well with you. And I would ask you to go within, because I'm pretty sure that we've been indoctrinated to believe that we are fully separated from God because we're been told that we're dismal, original sin, and all of that. And what those Ascension Psalms are telling us is that we are Adam, who is God. When I was in Crestone, there was a song that was given to me. And initially, part of it, I kept getting this Yod Vav He, and I kept hearing Yod Vav He. Some of you might have seen it on the Crestone page and heard the song that I sang when I was there. And I'm not going to sing it for you right now, but it was Yod Vav He, Yod Vav He, well, Yod Vav He. And I was kind of surprised on that because I would have assumed that it would have been Yod He Vav He. That's the tetragrammaton. That made sense to me. But that didn't. Like, what is this? What is this? And Spirit said, it's God-man. And I slowed down for just a moment and I looked at it and I was like, oh my gosh, you're right. There's the Yod He and the Vav is in the middle. The God-man is one who's attached and connected themselves and transmuted themselves and translated themselves to become half ethereal, half material, less dense. So if you guys want to connect it, this would be what you would know in the English writings, the resurrected form of Yeshua, of Ishu, the way it was written. Being able to come and go, walk through walls, yet he could still sit and eat. The God-man that can materialize and dematerialize. Materialize invalidation, being able to come and go at will, dimensionally. That's pretty fantastic when we slow down and we think about it. The other part of it is that this is the suffix of Haliva, Yod Vav He. Went into great detail about a week ago on the difference of Hallelujah versus Haliva. But this is the suffix side. So God-man is realized when we do the work, the great work, and connect to our shadow so that the Shekinah glory can be fully manifested through us as the sun, as the moon, both unified. So Yod Vav He is a now vibratory frequency when we are in our Hasha moment. So I will begin next Friday going through the Ascension Psalms. We are going to be looking at them. I don't know how deep I'll go. I will go as far as the Spirit wants me to. Like I said, I wanted to do that with you today, but the internet's just not allowing me to. And it was purposed because of the shadow I had to transmute. I just needed to come and speak to you from my heart today and just not even worry about anything. I mean, I can't even see myself on the screen, which is perfect because it just gets my ego out of the way so that I can speak directly through that which is flowing through me. So I hope this was an encouragement for you today. I needed to hear it. I needed to hear it to encourage myself. And if it encouraged you, I think that's marvelous. I look forward to, I'm seeing some amazing people on here today. Katrina, it blesses me that you're here. It blesses me a lot. I look forward to connecting with you, beautiful, and some other times where we can actually chat because I know we have much to speak about. It was a blessing to meet you in Crestone as you were a very integral part in setting the stage for what is and is taking place. Thank you for your work that you've done. But I look forward to connecting with you next week as we go through the Ascension Psalms. I know my internet will be fixed and I will be able to share it with you, but it's going to come from a different place. Like I said, this time it's going to be coming from the place of my heart in encouraging, because I'm no longer hiding. I have nothing to hide. And if a shadow shows up, we're going to deal with it in the moment. We're going to deal with it because it's time to uncover that which has been covered in order for the Shekinah to flow freely through us as we become the lamps, the lights, the menorah, the light of the world. And we can only do that through turning one shadow at a time. I love all of you. I love all of you with the totality of my being and all that I am and all that I ever will be in this moment, in this Hasha moment as we create with one another. Ahava, Haliba, and Haliva. Toda Rabba.